I got 10 a.m. People are still kind of coming in, but I appreciate your time and you coming to spend your morning here with me. And so I want to be respectful of that and start on time, and we'll try to end as close to the top of the hour so that we'll have time for questions and answers. But anyway, so my name is Ardizzone. I'm the founder of Ark Cyber. And today we're going to talk about security in your home and your mobility devices. So the topics that we'll cover, just the intro, who I am, the genesis, kind of ripping off of biblical stuff because I'm a believer. All of the choices that are available in helping secure your home and mobility devices, what's next, and then we'll close with some Q&A. So basically a little bit about me. I'm a believer, been saved since the 90s. Didn't always live as a believer though. A husband, father, I'm a networking and security practitioner, and I'm mostly ethical hacker. If anybody understands hacking, the hacking world, you have black hats, those are the bad guys. You have white hats, those are the good guys. And then you have gray, and the gray hats, you kind of have to live in the middle. So if I need to be able to do the skills the bad guys are doing, I have to do and look at some of the bad stuff, right? Otherwise, I don't know their tactics, I don't know their tricks, I don't know all the things they're doing to gain an advantage over the good guys. Same thing, black hats jump into the white hat world. They the enemy, the Bible even says, enemy will masquerade as a child of light, right? So they do the same thing we're doing. And so mostly ethical is a joke. I am completely ethical. I do hold a government security clearance. I design secure networks for the federal and air and space forces. I work in industry right now. And so I'm an offensive security certified professional, offensive security wireless professional. Basically, this means I can hack your home and your wireless all at the same time, and you won't even know it. Just kidding. If anybody joined the Wi-Fi that says hacker Wi-Fi, awesome. I didn't create it. It's not me, so you just got hacked. I think I'm the only hacker in the building. I did meet one guy yesterday who knew the difference between certified ethical hacker and the OSCP certificates. So OSCP is kind of the gold standard of hackers, right? Certified ethical hacker is a Q&A question and answer. Right? You learn what is ethical hacking, what is this, what is that, and then you answer those questions. The OSCP and OSWP, those organizations say, oh, you call yourself a hacker? Okay, here's a bunch of machines. You have 24 hours to break into it. Then you break into it, and then you have to write it, and then they say, oh, you've got to now write a report on how you did it and how you broke in and basically gained all of the privileges that you gained. So these, in the hacker world, are like, he's legit, he knows what he's doing. I started the process back in 2018 to gain the certifications, but my security career, my networking career, and all that stuff spans 25 years. So I am, up until last year, I worked for AT&T, designing networks for the government. They sold our division to a smaller defense contractor, so I still work in the defense space, just not for a large company like AT&T, but in the industry, I'm considered a subject matter expert on all things networking and security. So I have 4 children. We just passed the 2-year anniversary. June 14th, my oldest boy went on to be with the Lord. He was a believer. I've been able to talk about him a lot, twice now. A little echo. My daughter, Rebecca's 22, my 18-year-old Chase, and then my youngest is actually in the back of the room with the crazy hair, sitting back there. And he's my first homeschooler. So we were in public school up until he finished 7th grade. I've been doing this, my 4th conference. And I was like, oh my gosh, all the lies I believed about homeschooling, they're not true. Like, these people are smart, and they're funny, and they're engaging, and they're social, and, so much more. We'll get into that in a second. But I was like, bud, we moved, and so the district that we were in said, you don't live in our district anymore. He can't come here. Even though it was open enrollment, we were praying, like, let him get back into that. Didn't work out, and so he's like, Dad, let's try homeschooling. And I'm like, oh, I've basically been teaching him my whole life, and I'm like, what's a little different, right? So anyway, more about Alex. Alex is 26, absolutely loved helping people, loved technology, and wanted to do what I do for a living. And so one day he came to me and he's like, Dad, I want to do hacking and stuff. So I was like, all right, well, go to your computer. So I took his computer, changed the administrator password, and said, all right, break into it, and now you're a hacker. And he was like, what? And so 3 months he tried to break into it and just couldn't do it. And so he kept coming to me saying, can I have administrator rights so that I can install this game? No, break into your computer and you can do it. Over and over and over, he just kept coming and like, So finally one day he sat down and said, I'm going to do this. And he walked out. Laptop over his head, he broke into his computer, changed his password, and gained a skill that nobody could ever take from him because he knew how to do it. And I was like, bud, that's it. Welcome to the cyber world. Like, welcome to the hacking world. And so, he wanted to follow in my footsteps. He also was a recipient of 2 liver transplants. He was the second youngest child back in the 90s to receive an infant liver transplant. And praise God, he lived 23 years on that liver. So that's where Ark Cyber came from. The trials and the things in my life, the Lord is so good at redeeming. Early on, I was 11 years old, and my stepfather used to hide his material in my room from my mom. So thanks for that. We've mended and all that stuff, but I got exposed to it. I was 11 years old, and it wasn't like the soft and bad, whatever. It was like horrible things. And so that ruined my life into my late 20s. The Lord led me to a place in Kentucky called Pure Life Ministries, where I went to the live-in resident program. I spent 9 months there, and I graduated that program in January of 2002. And since January of 2002, I've been learning to walk in obedience to how to live free from that idolatry. And as I was learning those principles there, basically the Lord is like, stop caring about yourself, give yourself away, pour yourself out into other people's lives. So that's where Ark Cyber came from. June 14th, 2020, I got to sit at his bedside in the ICU. And I imagine everybody here has children. You're all homeschool families and parents. And the thing that probably runs through your mind, if you've suffered that kind of loss and you understand, I'm sorry to be a part of your club, but praise God, he's so good. If you've not experienced that, the imaginations that you're having right now, they're terrifying. But if you know the Lord, he is with you in that. It was the most beautiful, like the after part is horrible. But while I was sitting there watching and walking my son home, the peace, the grace that was in that room was just so only something the Lord can do. So I got to be with him as he took his last breath and ushered him into eternity. And my wife is a genius. Genesis 2:18, then the Lord said, it is not good that man should be alone, and I will make him a helper fit for him. I copied that from the New King James, or the King James Version, so typo. But my wife, it was kind of her brainchild. And so out of the sexual idolatry past that I had, growing in my relationship with my wife, Megan, and the 18 years that we have been together, the Lord has been redeeming us. Through Alex's death, I had to go to biblical counseling and spend time to go through that grieving process. And as I was going through that grieving process and healing, my counselor said to me, he's like, you're kind of technical, right? And I was like, I know some stuff. And he was like, well, man, I got more counselees. Their wives are asking for help. Can you help secure their networks and their phones? Their husbands are now in counseling because they're in idolatry and they're giving over to things. And I was like, man, after all the Lord has done for me through your ministry, just give the families my number. And so the families were calling, and I would help them secure their networks and help them secure their devices. And they just kept calling and kept calling. And my wife says to me one day, why do we have to wait until they're bound up in idolatry? Can we help families sooner? And I was like, oh, woman, you're a genius. Yes, we can help families sooner. I was like, why didn't I think of that? But praise God, he gave you the idea. So that is where the whole concept from Ark Cyber came from, was out of what the enemy intended for evil in my life. The Lord has been redeeming for his glory and kingdom business. So let's dive in. The internet, right? Where did it come from? A lot of people are familiar. Looking around the room, I see probably people close to my age remember when you heard that. Right? All of that. That was our internet experience, and that was the world that we knew, and it was like, what is going on? What is all of this? But the people who put the work in the early days, they did so because they stood to gain. And those people were not God-fearing, good people. Those people had content and garbage that they wanted to put out into the world, and they wanted out quickly. So they were incentivized early on to make bandwidth greater, to make media better, to make the things you could see and do on the internet. So a lot of the early funding came from pornographers, basically. They stood to gain the most, and if you do any research, just spend time Googling what's the #1 searched thing. You'll know it is pornography. You'll see there's tons of data to back up that pornographers stood the most to gain, and they're a multi-billion-dollar industry today. And the internet we have is a direct result of their contributions. Now, God is absolutely amazing at taking something garbage and redeeming it for His glory and for His purposes. And so the mind He's given me for technology, the mind He's given families to use technology, He can redeem even the darkest and the most wicked intended things. We have a source, the web server IP, that's from a 2013 article. So you can do your own research and check that out. Basically, this is from there's an article here that is from the repository, the law repository at Indiana EDU. Basically, the title that was written in the educational university is "Why Not to Censor the Internet? Pornography Drives Technology." The Federal Communications Law Journal, Volume 49, Issue 1, Article 8. In the Indiana University archives, they wrote a huge article, "Don't Censor the Internet, This Is Why." And we all know, and this article was published, I want to say 1996. Yeah, so 1996, they're saying don't censor it, let it be free and open because you can't stifle free speech and blah, blah, blah. And it had nothing to do with free speech. It had everything to do with monetizing pornography and getting it out in front of as many people as possible. So that's the pornography side of the world, right? The rest of it that has spawned from that evil is the cyber, the hacker world, and the scammer world, and all of those individuals and organizations that thrive in that side of the industry. Pornography is the medium of choice where hackers will use and spawn and launch their malware attacks because so many people are visiting those sites daily, hourly, second, minutes. They're on them, they launch malware sites. So much so that sites like Pornhub and all the bad ones hired a group called Bug Bounty, HackerOne, an organization that I'm a part of. It's a volunteer organization. It's like a freelance for hackers. You can go sit in HackerOne and just look at all the jobs that come in. And if you want to work on their pen test, if you want to work on their stuff, you can say, hey, I want to be a part of this job. You can sign up for their job to help secure their stuff. And at the very top of those lists are those pornographic sites because their sites were getting compromised unintentionally while allowing hackers to use their sites to launch attacks and things for them. So they were like, hey, we need to make our stuff more secure, more better, so that people can come to our site and consume our garbage and not worry about getting hacked. Okay. Yeah, people help them. I don't help them, but all right. So where do you begin, right? How do you start this journey of securing your home and your mobility devices? What do you do? Anybody here kind of consider themselves a DIY person? Yep. A handful of people, right? You are the kind of people that you're going to want to learn how to do this on your own. So you'll go get the training. You'll watch the videos. You'll spend hours on YouTube to figure out and kind of learn a lot of the fundamental things that I've learned. But not many people are like that. I think the majority of hands that stayed down versus went up. Everybody else is like, I'm already so overwhelmed. I don't need to learn another thing. I'm already teaching. Am I doing it right, even if I don't have training, right? That's kind of the question. And then everything that I have learned, what does it all mean? And so, where do you begin? Let's see, make sure I got it right. Yeah, all right, so the word of mouth method, right? How many people have heard of Circle? Did you actually go to an ad and watch a Circle ad, or did you hear about it from somebody else that spread, hey, you should try Circle because it says, how many people have heard of Bark? Yeah, ad, okay, what about Griffin? Anybody heard of Griffin? Right, that number is small, but Griffin is absolutely incredible technology. I just deployed it at my dad's house. He is in his 70s. It's spelled Gryphom. If you're after some kind of thing, right? Word of mouth is how a lot of these technologies spread. Covenant Eyes. Anybody heard of Covenant Eyes? Majority of hands I expected to see because Covenant Eyes puts a ton of money into their marketing and their advertising. Accountable to You. Anybody heard of that one? Very similar to Covenant Eyes, almost identical. Except their focus is not on what Covenant Eyes focuses on. Their focus is more stopping and reporting. Covenant Eyes is more of a tell on you platform. We're going to let you do it, but then we're going to tell on you, and you need to have an accountable conversation with somebody once you've done the thing. few others. But anyway, yeah, so word of mouth, right? Families come to conferences like this, they learn about the new next thing. Who's heard of Brave? Brave browser. Who knows what a VPN is? If I say VPN, you should see a lot of hands, right? Everybody understand? Yeah. So you know what that technology is, but you know why it is what it is and what you're using it for. And then how do you choose it? How do you make the most informed decision, right? So that's probably one of the key areas that we'll focus on here coming up. All right, experts, right? Everybody wants to come and hear what the experts have to say. Why do you trust them? You know, are they experts because they've proven they're experts, or are they experts because they told you they're experts, right? And so, bias, right? I am an affiliate of Ark, Circle, Covenant Eyes, Accountable to You, all of them. Not because, well, yes, because I do get a percentage of every sale that I make, but that's not my driving factor. The reason I chose to be an affiliate of all of them is because when you tell me your use case, I'm going to listen to what you're telling me. Griffin may not be the solution for you because you don't need or have that kind of use case. Maybe you just need a reporting platform, so I can help you set that up, get that going, and deploy it. But a lot of experts have a monetary incentive to recommend the products that they recommend. So, yeah, the affiliate relationships. And a lot of those experts, it is hard to find a support person. Somebody that can stand in front of you and say, this is how you do it. Anybody ever try to reach help at Google or help at YouTube? Virtually impossible. Like, it's, unless you're a paying business that garners their attention, you don't get support. He's now a client, but he was a booth neighbor back in my first Great Homeschool Conference back in Cincinnati. He had accidentally locked himself out of his YouTube channel and had incredible like homeschool classical music and arts kind of stuff on their channel, had over 5,000 subscribers. So small compared to the big YouTube world, but big in like the homeschool world, could not get into his account. And so he was like, is that something you could help with? I'm like, I can actually help you with that. So I helped him retrieve all of his YouTube videos that were locked out on that one channel. We established a whole new channel, helped him get his following growing back again. But not one single person from YouTube or Google intervened to help us. I had to do all the research myself and help him recover his account and get the channel back up and running. So there's a ton of experts out there, but only if you're willing to pay for that a lot of times. All right, so now what? You told us the experts, you got all the bias and all this stuff. And there's only a few types of technology out there, right? There's only mobile and tablets, and there's only Android, and then there's all the free stuff, and then there's all the paid stuff, and then there's Apple. I say only kind of sarcastically, right? So many technology choices just in the mobility world, right? And so, does anybody know how to use Apple's screen time? Anybody familiar with it? Do you know how robust that platform is? Do you know the things that you can actually do for free the way Apple has designed, right? So we can actually help you. I use screen time on our devices. My wife, we have, this is my work phone, my other phone's over there. My wife, we have Circle on that device. She holds the keys to the kingdom, and we have screen time. That phone is locked down so that I have to go to her and say, hey, I need to do some updates, I need to do this, I need to do that. My son's phone has the same thing. As we've grown together in technology, we, as his age grows, his permissions have scaled. But we were able to use all the free stuff up until the point where we needed a paid-for platform like Circle. And so, anyone heard of Family Link? Android families in here? Google families? Anybody heard of Family Link? Know how to use Family Link? It's an incredibly robust platform. As long as you're using it right, you can secure and limit and control all of the technology on your child's devices, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's part of being in the Android platform. Again, the paid choices, Ark, Circle, Covenant Eyes, right? The decisions that you'll have to make are, do I want to pay for it? And once I've paid for it, how do I use it? Ark is a good platform. It allows access to like social media accounts and things like that. But again, it's also kind of a tell-on-you platform, and it's algorithm-based. So as you're using it, the one mom said to me, hey, I had sent a text to my son and said, if you don't get home, we're going to whoop your butt. And she got a report saying somebody was bullying. And so there's a lot, it's like, oh, yeah. So the AI that's involved in that stuff isn't really that intelligent. It's just looking for phrasing and things like that. So a lot of the reports that come from technology like that is considered noise. And what happens, probably, a lot of people can put their hands up and agree, you have gotten so overwhelmed with the noise, you actually stop looking at it, and you're like, well, I know it's on there, they know it's on there, and that's all that they need to know, and you no longer are like actively monitoring. Quite a few people have told me, covenant eyes reports, they just come in so frequently and they're so inaccurate, I just stopped looking at them. But I knew it was on there, they knew it was on there, so they knew like they weren't really going to get away with it, and they just kind of stopped reading the reports. And so that kind of technology can be overwhelming. Apple, right, we talked about the screen time. That is an incredibly robust platform if you know how to use it right. You can manage your children's devices right from your phone. Once you set up their iOS account, you can do it right from your parent control. And there is content limiting. There's whitelisting. Anybody know what whitelisting is? Yeah. Whitelisting is you can only go to the sites I have put in this list. Blacklisting is you cannot go to the sites that are in this list. But whitelisting is probably the most secure method of allowing your children to use technology, because if you want to go to Nickelodeon.com, this is the only site you can get to. There is some issue with that because organizations have created subdomains. Anybody know what a subdomain is? Subdomain, that's good, got a handful. Subdomain is the part in front of the Microsoft.com. So it would be content.microsoft.com. The content becomes a subdomain of the top level domain Microsoft.com. So they've created subdomains, so unless you whitelist the subdomain, which may be hosted, so if that plumbing picture was a video, and also by the way, that's my take on there's like Windows, Circle. I didn't want to use their logos and get charged for it. I don't know if anybody caught that, but yeah, there was another one. I think we were trying to use it. See if you can guess which one. Dogs bark. Yep, good job. Yep, the top one. So anyway, what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. Okay. Subdomains. Yeah, subdomains. So unless you whitelist those subdomains, the content for that would be blocked. There's organizations out there that know how to put an asterisk in front of the dot, so it allows all. So if you know circle.com is a good domain, you would put an asterisk dot circle.com, and it would allow all of that content. iOS and screen time don't allow the wild card, it's called. So on the free platforms, you get what you pay for, is the problem. So sometimes you have to move into getting a paid platform because you get more features, more robust things with that. All right. PCs, laptops, right? Windows, Chrome, Mac. So many. How many Mac and Apple families are here? Good. Yeah, usually about 60%, 50%, about half and half. Windows, majority usually, and then Linux. Where's my Linux people at? All right, we got two. Yeah. So anybody know that Mac is literally Linux? Anybody know that? Mac is Linux. Apple ripped off a version of Linux, branded it, sealed it, productized it, and priced it, and made it. But you can run Linux commands almost identical to what you can run in Linux. So if you're a Mac family, you're Linux. So, gaming devices. Anybody here allow gaming devices? Xboxes, PlayStations, Switches, Wii's, any of the classic, any Atari people here still have Atari? Woo! All right. Yeah, I actually have a Nintendo NES. NES people? Yeah, all right, hold on. Super Mario fans? I have a Nintendo belt buckle that's like a little game controller. Sometimes I wear it, my wife's like, nerd. Yeah, how do you secure these devices? Anybody know of apps that are good for Xbox, PlayStation, and gaming? Any of those? Right? Anybody know how to secure those? Yeah, we got one.
Nintendo Parent Control.
Nintendo Parent Control is great. Did you know the Xbox has a way you can limit, restrict the things that they can do and see on Xbox? Just ask my son. Microsoft, because it's Windows, Microsoft, if you have a live.com or a login.live.com account, in their services, there's actually a Microsoft family control. So you would set up your account as a parent, and then you would set your children's usernames and email addresses up as a subordinate, and then you can set hours, times, curfews, bedtimes, content restrictions, and all for the Microsoft platform. So Xbox falls under the Microsoft platform, and that's all free. It's all part of their, you want to buy Windows, you want to buy Office 365, whatever, they have the free content that's there. PlayStation, they have an affiliate relationship with, it's not Norton, I can't think of the name of it right now, but basically you buy their service and there's an app that's in the PlayStation that allows you to do parental controlling. But that's a paid service. And when you're in the PlayStation, you go under like settings, and then you can see where the parental controls are. But then you have to create a PlayStation child account for each person that you're going to allow to use the PlayStation, and then they have to be part of that subscription base. So, and then Switch, the Nintendo Family Control. That one is free. You put the app on your device, and then it controls all the Nintendo devices. So my son, actually my older son, had a Switch until he left, and now he's 19. But yeah, so there is that type of technology. All right. So what's next? What do you do? Everybody bring all your devices, and we're ready to lock them down and show you how to do it. Nobody wants their devices locked down. You just want to lock down your kids, right? Right. So I can show you or tell you the simplest, easiest thing you can do. You can walk out of the room today, put this on your children's phones, and set it with a pin, and they're not going to be able to remove it. Especially if they have an Apple device. Does anybody know you can restrict deleting apps from Apple? Like if you go into family screen time, you can actually stop them from deleting. I wouldn't recommend stopping them from installing unless they're installing things like, VPNs, right? Because you don't want them to be able to install VPNs. That will defeat pretty much any technology that you put on a device. If you block the ability to install, make sure once a week, once a month, whatever the routine is, you go in and allow installing, because Apple and Android both push updates. Those are patches that are discovered. Anybody afraid of patching, getting the updates?
Yes.
Yeah. Why are you afraid? Tell me why you're afraid.
Because my phone jacks up every time I do an update.
Okay, that's actually a valid reason. That's good. Anybody else have any other reason why they're afraid of patching?
I don't want them watching me all the time.
There's the one I was looking for. Yeah. So patching, what that is guys like me, we go out into the application world and the developer world, and I look for vulnerabilities. And when I find a vulnerability, I try to exploit that vulnerability. When I exploit that vulnerability, I have now created a way to hijack your system, because the software developer did not intend for the software to do what I just was able to do with their software, thereby creating a backdoor to your device because there's an exploit. So me, as a responsible, mostly ethical hacker, what I will do is I'll say, hey, Apple, I found this vulnerability, or hey, software maker, I found this vulnerability in your software. This is a serious risk for your consumers who are using your product. If you don't patch this within a reasonable amount of time, I'm going to responsibly disclose to the world this vulnerability exists, so that everybody can either dump your platform or you're going to patch it, because hackers are going to take advantage of this. So we in the security world say, fix your stuff, or the world's going to know about it and they're going to dump you. So then they're like, let's fix our stuff. Because organizations like Apple, like Google, they have a responsibility to you, the consumer. If you ever read the fine print in the software, you're leasing and borrowing their software. You don't own the software, you don't buy the rights to the software, you get to use it. And when you hit accept, next, just reading next, because I just want to use my brand new shiny Apple or Samsung device, it's saying you're leasing the software and they can basically update it whenever they want. Because they need to, because they have a legal responsibility. If they do something and don't patch their system, and you now are caused harm by their desire to not patch or fix the problem, they actually owe you money, and you do become a stockholder in their company because they caused you harm with their garbage software. So people like us make the software world safer, because we find those bugs, hopefully before the bad guys do. We tell them to patch it, hopefully before the bad guys do, and then they push patches out to fix all of their garbage software, because all they care about is getting your money, making a new software app, making a thing, and then putting it out on the market, and then you become the beta test world. So as you're using it in your normal use, your daily life, you're finding the bugs and saying, this thing crashed, or this thing whatever. And as we're using it in our life, we're looking for the bugs because we want to help make that experience better for you. So do your patching, get your patches. They are watching, but that's every single platform you use. If you use Apple, Siri's listening, she's recording, she's gathering data. It's called big data. When I worked for AT&T, the data lakes that they would gather just on information to monetize and target consumer. I mean, everybody's talked about fishing or talked about hiking or whatever, something, and all of a sudden it's in your ads, right? Every device you have is listening for the purpose of separating more of your money from you. Right now, that's the intent. Down the road, probably more nefarious reasons for collecting that kind of data. Right now, it is just monetizing. Somewhere there's a data lake of me. They're they're gonna do away with me for telling all their secrets. But yeah, so don't be afraid.
When you say that.
Well, I mean, that's the best thing they can do for me is because I'll be home with the Lord. So yeah, what's the worst they can do to us is kill us. Cool.
So then,
Yeah.
you don't even have a way to stop that. Like you can.
So there is a way, and so what you would need is an enterprise-grade firewall that prevents outbound traffic from reaching the servers that stuff gets loaded up to. In order to do that, though, you severely disable the usability of your device. So there's an analogy that we use in the security world. Anybody who wants the most secure device in the world here? Raise your hand. Most secure device in the world, right? So the most secure device in the world, I will give you an iPhone. I will take the battery out of it. I will wrap it in tinfoil. I will stick that tinfoil wrapped iPhone in a box, wrap a Faraday cage around it, dig a 12-foot hole, put that box in the 12-foot hole, fill that hole with concrete, and then seal it with steel plate. You have the most secure device in the world. Security has gone through the roof. Usability has gone to zero. So the balance between security and usability is where we are constantly trying to find that good, happy medium. We want usability high and we want security high, but right now, the internet and the world of technology we've been given doesn't allow for that. And that's by design, that's by intent. Another analogy I use is the sewage pump, right? Everybody that went and got high-speed broadband internet literally brought a sewage pump to their house, connected it to the same hookup where your clean water is. And we've all gotten really good at turning on the clean water just to get enough clean water so we can quench our thirst. Every once in a while, the kids make them up and now you're covered in filth and you've got to deal with the cleanup. And so the problem with the internet is we've had to learn how to swim in a toilet. Some of us can afford boats and we're not in the toilet, we're a little higher up on the platforms that we can, navigate the sewage that we're in. The rest of us are swimming in trunks, just kind of like bumping sewage off of us, whatever. And that shouldn't be our experience. If you remember back when you would buy TV, you would buy TV and you would buy the channels or the package that you wanted. It did not come with pornography by default.
Yeah.
It did not come with the harmful by default. If you wanted that garbage, you bought it and you paid for it as an add-on, not as the default service. And what has happened is the world has said, we'll just include everything by default. We'll jack the price up a little bit. And then if they don't want it, they just don't have to look at it. No, that's not how the heart works, right? So one of the biggest problems with that model that we've been given is we're human. We have a desire that isn't bent towards God. It is bent towards sin. Everyone that I have ever met, I've never met one sinless person. Everything that we do, unless we are redeemed and transformed and our mind is renewed and being renewed daily, we just want to do the easy thing. We want to do the simple thing. Anybody here not have any kind of protection on their internet at home? Anybody? It's okay. I'm not judging you. All right. On your internet at home, right? You have nothing at all. You're walking the razor. You're living on the edge. Anybody?
I can turn it off and on.
You can turn it off, but no protection. Yours is a kill switch.
They're in the front room.
Okay. So when you flip it on,
doesn't necessarily mean anything.
they're in it, and then when you flip it off, that's a form of protection. That works. Not ideal, but it does work. Anybody else? What's your other protection method that's not protection?
How do you define protection?
Something.
Antivirus.
Yeah. So you're at a level of risk you're willing to accept. So whatever that looks like for you, that is your level of protection. So what level of risk you're willing to accept? Hers is an on-off switch. What's yours look like? Content filtering, parental control apps, anything like that. Everybody just kind of.
Mine has just been not let them on anything.
Okay. Yeah. Just stay off, right?
That's it.
Yeah. What else?
Random history checks.
Random history checks. You ever heard of private browsing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one to defeat, especially if they know how to do that. And they can hide the fact that they're doing it. Yeah, that's a tough one. What do you got?
Can't you find that through the router though?
If your router is logging, absolutely. Yeah. You have a router that's capable of logging, and then you have a file server that stores the logs that you can review. Yeah, so then that's a solution. Typically that's a more pricey solution. A lot of home users aren't at that that's an enterprise level solution, but that's good. So anybody heard of Sophos? Sophos is a free to the home user platform, which allows proxying, and proxying basically means I'm going to send my traffic through you, and you're going to act as the proxy to send my traffic out to the world. Because I'm proxying through you, I now am limited by what you allow me to do. So Sophos has a proxy, which is built into the firewall. It has a content filter, which is built into the firewall. You get a home license for their UGX, their XG firewall. You get a license for that, and you can limit and restrict it. But it requires some enterprise level skill to deploy it, to maintain it, right? How do you do that? I can do that stuff because I spent time doing it and learning how to do it. What was your name? Bianca knows how to build a log server and manage.
My husband.
Husband, okay, great, yeah. I'm like, that's awesome, yeah, not a lot.
How do you spell Sophos?
S-O-P-H-O-S, Sophos. Yeah.
I use Circle
Circle?
on home computer and Microsoft Family.
Okay, so you have the Circle Home Plus for your home computer.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the white box that plugs
The
into
white
your
box,
router.
but I
Yeah.
don't have to pay the monthly fee too.
Yeah, you pay a one-time fee.
One-time fee,
Yeah.
$99. They don't sell them anymore.
Yeah, so you have the Disney?
The Disney, the
Yeah.
first generation.
Yeah, okay.
And then I have Bark, and then my kids have pinball phones.
Okay, so they have a limited type of, 36, okay. Just listen. Yeah.
Have you heard of Custodium? That's what we use.
Custodian?
Yeah.
I'm not.
QUSTIDIO.
Okay.
And so it does, like content, all the, like you were talking about, you can allow only certain websites.
Yeah.
Like I kind of set up like a school account, so when they're doing schoolwork, they can only go to their school website.
Yeah. Good.
I used Circle for a little bit, but what I found with that one was like content, I could type something in and
Yeah.
it would come up.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest issue is like the internet searches or what if you spell something wrong?
Absolutely.
All the things that could come up. So that's like my biggest concern is
Yeah.
and then YouTube or whatever.
And the ads.
I'm looking around because I wanted to see if there's any little ones, and then there's a few. But there's some words that they type innocently because it's like their peer age, right? And they type it in and filth. I mean, that's the sewage pump analogy again. So yeah, great. And so that's word of mouth. Can you say that again so everybody can hear?
It's like I call it Custodio, but it's QUISTIDIO. And because we have a Chromebook, so I was trying to find something that we could use on a Chromebook and all devices. That was one of the first ones I found for Chromebook usage.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so that's more word of mouth. Anybody else have one that that I haven't mentioned?
I would hear your thoughts on Canopy.
Canopy. I've not heard of it. Actually, I have heard of it. I just don't know that platform. So can you share it a little bit? Are you researching it yourself?
Well, we use it.
Okay.
I know nothing, like, a lot of what you're saying is, over my head. My husband has set up some things, but even though we have it, I don't know, I mean, like, it blocks content, so then when I try to get on the internet to do something, I might have to disable it on my phone, and
Yeah.
then go back, and then it takes 5 minutes for it to even load.
So why is it on your phone? Let me ask you that.
Why is it on
Yeah,
my
like why would you? So my wife has Circle.
It's not on my phone, but like if I use our computer.
Oh, okay, I got you. So you needed to say it's a shared resource.
It's that all of our, and I mean, my kids, we have a passcode on our phone,
Yeah.
but I mean, really and truly, like, they can get on anything, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, even not having my phone secure is a risk.
Right, because as soon as they pick it up.
Well, and then figure out the passcode, then
Yeah.
boom, they have access to everything we're trying to block them, everything.
Right.
But we have it on we have one iPad, which is old as the hills, and then two family computers.
Yeah.
And so it's on that.
So you sound like a Griffin family, right? The amount of technology you have, you need a single pane of glass. You need one spot to look through and have all of the management. You need dual admins, right? So you're an admin, your husband's an admin. So you can make decisions, he can make decisions, and it protects all of the technology in your home and mobility devices if you leave the home. So that's,
And I'd be curious to talk to you too, because
Yeah.
my husband he's a sergeant, and so he does need to be able to Google things
Sure.
that sometimes seem
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Yep.
He has pictures from scenes and
Yep.
that kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to. He's not opposed to having something on his phone, but finding the balance, like
right.
how do we
Usability, yeah, security.
right with what he does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, great. So finding that and making sure that you're able to use it right. Anybody have the one silver bullet technology that's out there that solves all of this? Can anybody guess what company can solve all that for you?
No devices.
Yeah, and it's not Ark Cyber. There is no silver bullet, right? There is a way right now, today, there's a way around every single thing that you try to put in place. Because the internet is designed by pornographers and scumbags and monetized and incentivized by pornographers to keep it free and open, and as soon as a site is taken down, another one's put up. So that is called a young domain, right? If the content provider you have doesn't block young domains, they're within the young domain would be like 30 days, right? So Ark Cyber we stood up the company 4 months ago. The Lord has been like calling me out of Babylon and stop building their networks and start doing this for families. And while I was doing that, a friend of mine was like, you need to check out the Homeschool Conference. And I'm like, Homeschool Conference, what's that? And he's like, a conference where a bunch of homeschool families go to. And I was like, I thought they all just kind of huddled around their kitchen table and hope for the best. What do you mean? Conferences, what is this thing? And so I went to the first one in Cincinnati and was like, what is this? Like, this is, I've been lied to. Like,
Underneath the anthill.
yeah, anthill, yeah. One of our first walk by the booth, kind of get your attention questions was, you ever use the internet? And so some people were like, no, what's that? We've been living in a bunker. We're a homeschool family. And I was like, yeah, I love it. But it got a lot of people to stop. And because there's a huge pain point, especially in the conservative world, for help us stop this. And so the bigger vision of Ark Cyber is to not give us better wetsuits, better submarines, and better boats to swim in a sewer. Basically, we're developing and building the pure protected internet. And it's a private internet that will be essentially content controlled and creator controlled. So as families choose to leave the toilet and join the pure protected internet, you'll have access to content like Amazon that doesn't have filth. Target and Walmart and all these retail sites, when they see that 70% of the market just left the dirty internet and went behind a firewall, network-controlled, secured internet that has things, resources, education resources, all the things that families want that don't want.
Like an alternative to Amazon?
Like an alternative to Amazon.
Oh,
So,
thank you, Lord.
anybody heard of GovCloud?
What is it?
GovCloud. It's a private cloud created by the government that has clean content. Because the government said, we don't want pornography, but we need a cloud. We need a Microsoft Azure cloud. We need an Amazon cloud. Do you know how I know that cloud exists? Because I was one of the engineers that helped design it, create it, and deploy it for the government, for the federal government. So there is content available that these creators can make that doesn't have garbage. And in that industry, we call it the clean and the dirty. I need to jump over to the dirty to do something. And so when they go to dirty, they pick up a separate machine. They go onto the dirty, do their research, do their whatever, and then that dirty machine never comes back onto the clean. They have a whole separate domain where all of their business work. Anybody here work in industry? Anybody here work outside of the home? You go into your office. Does your office have content and restrictions, right? And protections you can't accidentally stumble into because they'll be sued for PCI compliance, right? If they violate that stuff and a person's credit card gets hacked. Industry already has a solution to the content problem. You can actually use your work computer in your office and on your VPN safely and securely and not have too much of a worry about malicious and harmful content, right? So that technology already exists. And so 2018, Hurricane Michael went through Panama City, Florida. Anybody remember that? Wiped out Tyndall Air Force Base. It completely flattened the entire Panama City and the Tyndall infrastructure. When that happened, the AT&T team that I was a part of, they said, hey, we need emergency services, we need a new network, we need a whole thing. We have a whole greenfield deployment at an Air Force base that's never been possible before. Because they're not building Air Force bases nowadays, they're just retrofitting and fixing and enhancing the ones that are in place. So our team was flown down, and this is all during the as-a-service craze. Anybody heard of as-a-service? Everything is moving to that model. So basically, you pay your cell phone bill. That's a service, right? You don't care how the back end works in your cell phone. You just know, I pick it up, I use it, I make a phone call, I connect to my husband, I connect to my wife, I connect to my child. All the workings in between are safe, they're secure, and they're part of that infrastructure. So the as-a-service model was happening. They flew us down to Tyndall and said, design the base of the future. We're like, all right, you gave us a greenfield. So we went to Vegas, government invited us to Vegas. They brought in all the smartest people in the world from industry, academia and government and said, if you were to design the network of the future on the base of the future, what would it look like? And we were like, oh, perfect. So we did it, and we designed it. Tyndall Air Force Base is 29,000 acres. Very small, bigger than some small towns and rural communities. And I, as part of Ark Cyber, got to thinking, like, if I could design a network that's secure and content rich and doesn't have garbage for a 29,000 acre environment, I'm like, that just scales, right? Because Air Force bases, they're literally scaling it globally, and I'm like, why don't I just design a safe and secure network for conservative families that don't want the garbage on the network? And if they want or need the dirty, in some cases, like the sergeant, husband has to go out and do that, that's a separate service. You can get on it, or you can VPN to it, but it's not part of your normal education experience. It's not part of your normal day-to-day use. So that is the big vision, the pure protected internet of Ark Cyber.
Estimated completion time.
Huh?
Estimated completion time.
Based on funding. Yeah, so people have to get behind it, right? So this is our 4th conference. Again, we're a 4-month-old company. God has, and it's kind of funny, like the, what is it called? As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. And anybody been to Dry Ridge or Williamstown, Kentucky? Got to see a big boat they stuck out in the field? Ardizzone, right? I was thinking about that verse in Matthew that as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And I was like, Noah had an ark. I was like, oh, we have an ark. Like, oh my gosh, it's right there in Kentucky. Like, we, not that God couldn't do that. But then I was like, oh, look, another ark. And so I believe the Lord, part of what the Lord is doing is He is creating a internet ark to call His people out of that want to enter into that protection and want to enter and get out of that garbage. So I think as I am praying about, like, Lord, where does this company go? How do we help families in the meantime? So doing things like this, educating families on the technologies that are available, what they can do with them, how they can deploy them better, and learn how to, wear a dry suit while you're in the sewer while the new clean, pool is being built is part of our big vision. So what is next, right? What's the priority for your family? Do you want your children to be able to use technology as they move from your care into the workforce, right? I think the answer is yes. I don't think technology is going anywhere. I think we don't have to embrace the fullness of the things that are out there. Now, you come to my house, and it looks like I have embraced it because I can tell Google to turn on my lights, and I can, arm my security system and look at my surveillance, all that stuff. And we have a very smart home. I got an alert a little bit ago that said there was laundry left in the dryer for 30 minutes, and I'm like, hey, we're not there to do it, so she's trying to pick up the slack and do that while we're all done. I usually do the laundry, and that's why I got a smart washer so that I would stop forgetting that I left clothes in the laundry and go get them. Or him back there, and he's like, he goes in and goes to sleep, and now I can't watch him. But, hey, come get your clothes. Yeah, so what are your family priorities? How do you safely adopt technology? The handful of DIYers, right? You are already kind of forging that path and learning and showing, and you're watching the YouTube videos. Anybody have a Discord and get out on the nerd side of the world?
My son,
I have it for kids.
Yeah, yeah. Did you know that if you're using Discord from a PC, they have unlimited access to NSFW content? But if you do it on a mobile device, it is restricted. So the only Discord I allow,
what does that mean?
not safe for work they call it, but it's harmful content. So if you're using Discord on a PC-based machine, right, a browser machine like that, there's tons of harmful content, tons of it, and it's literally click, I accept, and you're in. If you're using it on a mobile device, the mobile providers have said no harmful content on Discord because children can have access to these mobile devices, and they can put it in their pocket and they can walk into their bedroom and take that garbage with them.
So if you're in a private server with their friends, but they can still just go into Discord and get whatever they want.
If they're using a browser-based Discord, they can be in a private server with their friend, but they can also join harmful content. And it's literally just, oh yeah, I'm 18, and let me have it. So there's no real vetting or verifying if it's browser or PC-based. If Discord is mobility-based, it says you cannot access NSFW content from this mobile device based on our policy, blah, blah, blah. So if you're going to let them use Discord, do it on a mobile device and block it on a PC. Do not give them PC access unless it's helicopter watching, because Discord is a trove of just bad. But God redeeming it, Ark Cyber has a volunteer channel out there that we're like, hey, if you want to help us help families, come join our Discord. And I've got actually Offensive Security, the organization that certifies my credentials, that says you're a hacker. When they heard about what Ark Cyber does, they said, man, you are a volunteer organization. We're going to give you access to our employees. They can get paid by Offensive Security a full 8-hour day to work for your organization. So you don't have to pay them. And I get access to, anybody heard of Anonymous? The hacker organization? So not saying that they're part of it or not, but I get access to that level, that caliber level. Hackers that make me look like a joke, right? Guys, so there's a guy named Got Milk, that's his handle. This is the guy that wrote the pen testing framework for Linux machines. If you know who Got Milk is, raise your hand, because you're awesome. We nerd out together. Got Milk is like the LeBron James of the hacker world. He's also one of the top executives at Offensive Security. When I was doing a town hall talking about my OffSec journey, Got Milk was in the little, the chat section and was like, wow, amazing story, let's talk. And I was like, everybody, Got Milk just like added me, and like, I'm like, what? So then I snapshotted that and I sent it to all my nerd friends, and I'm like, oh, they're like, no way, and I'm like, that's really good. So I had a 2-hour Zoom call with the LeBron James of the hacking world, telling him about Alex, telling him about the vision for Ark Cyber, and he was like, this is absolutely incredible, let us know. And so also, if you're kind of technology and hacker and security minded, Offensive Security has said, if a volunteer works with the organization and gives their time and does this and that, we will give them a free course to get a hacker certificate or to get some fundamental knowledge. You can give them as incentive for volunteering for your organization our coursework. So anyway, family priorities, right? Eliminate tech usage at all, adopt it, up to you, but you got to make that decision. And then once you do, invest the time in learning how to use and make that technology secure. Social media, right? Are you going to let him use it? My son doesn't have Facebook or any of that stuff. He has Messenger because I learned Messenger has kind of migrated and made a kid-friendly version. Some of our family members have vetted it and are like, okay, this actually is kid-friendly, and it gives me monitoring capability, so I can actually see what is being said and back and forth. Not that I'm watching, buddy, but I'm watching. I'll have you step out of the room for the next part. Yeah. And then when your kids are going off to college or the workplace, right? Do you want them to be tech savvy before they get there, or do you want them to kind of learn? Do you want them to learn technology in college? That to me is like, no, I don't want them to learn anything in college, especially technology, because that is not the place. I want them to know how to use it and use it safely before they get there. Anybody here teach their children how to ride a bike? Did anybody do it by handing them the keys to a brand new 2006 Harley road bike? No, not one? Really? I did not. I started with a small training wheel control device and helmets, elbow pads. Anybody not foot protection, helmets, elbow pads? Anybody just kind of like razor's edge? All right, we're living on the edge. My son hated that he had to wear a helmet and elbow pads and knee pads, but I'm like, bud, I love you, and I don't care that you look awesome. Just go shred. But he's like, I can't shred, I got training wheels. Go shred. But then as he got better and showed that he was able to handle that little piece of technology, training wheels came off. Helmet and elbow pads and knee pads stayed, right? He's like, yeah, they did. Or he would ride down the street, he's nodding his head. He would ride down the street and chuck it all off, and I'm like, we'll deal with that later. But yeah, so as he learned to use it appropriately, right, I stopped maybe holding the handlebars and the seat, and I just let go of the handlebar and let the seat. And there was a little bit of a wobble, but he needed to learn that wobble to understand that the wobble wasn't death, but it was, figuring out that balance, right? And so same with technology. If you are going to embrace it and you're going to let your children use it, do it with the training wheels, do it with the helmets and the elbow pads and the knee pads. And so if you want them to go off into the college and workplace, you want them to have an experience that they already understand that kind of stuff. And so if you want to, I imagine, I don't think anybody here doesn't have a phone. Everybody here have a phone on them right now? All right, so all of you pull out your devices, please. I'm going to show you something simple that you can do for your families right now. It doesn't cost you a single dime. We've got 6 minutes. Whether you have Google, the Play Store, or the App Store, just pull up your stores and in the search where you would search for apps, type in clean browsing. I'm not a clean browsing affiliate. Anybody not heard of clean browsing? Anybody heard of clean browsing? Okay. This is all like word of mouth stuff, right? This is the simplest thing you can do. When you see the little white and orange fox app,
Browser or browsing?
browsing should be all one word, lowercase, clean browsing. Sorry, did not specify, thank you. Clean browsing is a little white and orange app that looks like a fox.
It's not good service.
We don't have any sort of.
We'll join the hacker Wi-Fi. Yeah, so clean browsing, right. It's a little, did anybody get on Kalahari Guest? Did anybody not get on Kalahari Guest because they're afraid of getting hacked? You would own Kalahari if they allowed any other hackers besides me. Kalahari Guest, you can join it.
So that's a website, Calamar Guest.
Well, it's the Wi-Fi to give you service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's okay. You can get on Kalahari Guest.
Clean browsing, so it's not on.
They were getting on.
Yeah, so yeah, if you found clean browsing, go ahead and hit get and go ahead and hit install.
Looks like a.
It looks like a little duck or a fox.
Take your word for it, right?
Take my word for it. Trust me, I'm a hacker. Mostly ethical. Mostly ethical hacker.
Alright, what are we looking for again?
Clean browsing, all one word. Yep, that's it. Okay, so right, if you've got it installed and you've got it open now, right in the middle, you should see family filter.
It's a duck.
It looks like a duck, maybe a fox, white and orange, clean browsing. Once you hit family filter, go ahead and answer to the affirmative, yes, accept, okay, on any of the questions because it's letting you get your credit card information. Not really. Just kidding, mostly. Once you see the three options, there's family filter, touch that one, and it's going to ask you to authenticate that you are who you say you are, and you're giving that phone permission to do this. So what you have just done is limited what your device can get to from a content perspective, not just pornographic, but harmful hacker content. So actually, I should have shown you this first. If you turn the family filter off so that the green box goes away and you're back to the state that you were in before you enabled it, once you do that, open either Chrome or Brave or Safari, whatever you have, and in the top where you would search, type a website, not search for a website, but type in badexample.com. Badexample.com.
Can you go back to after it loaded?
Yep.
Clean browsing, filtering, family filter, or adult filter?
Neither right now. Open your browser. So you're in the spot I want you to be at anyway. Open your browsers. Go to badexample.com. Yeah, can you hold up what you see right there? Should see a little kitty falling over.
And then go to bad example.
Badexample.com is a good example of a bad website. So what that is a parked domain. So somebody 12 years ago bought the domain ArkCyber.com in the hopes that one day Ark Cyber would become a company and that I would want to buy the domain ArkCyber.com. When you went to ArkCyber with an E.com, you landed on a parked domain. Sometimes it's for monetary reasons because I ended up buying that domain from that person because if somebody went to Ark Cyber without the E.com, I didn't want them landing on their bad website. So now I own the E and that guy made money off of me because he bought a parked domain. Hackers, we use parked domains because they're valid internet addresses, and if I can trick you into going to G00gle.com, I now can hack your system because it looks like Google, but instead of 00, it's 00, right? So I would park a domain and trick you into going to it. You don't see it. It's such a small detail that you end up on my hacker website. So everybody able to get to badexample.com without any problem, right? That's not good. That's the default that the phone companies have given us. Go ahead and turn on your family filter now.
And it says domain is parked.
Yeah, that's a parked domain. Yep, that was what I was explaining there. So now if you go back to clean browsing, enable the family filter, go back to that browser and hit refresh. Can you hold up your phone, sir?
Clean browser filtering.
Enable family filter.
Okay, family filter.
Yep. Do you have a VPN on? Okay.
Oh, I see what
So you have a different
that's
problem.
my code.
So now I can't.
Now you can't get to it. So who can no longer get to it now after enabling the family filter? That's a simple thing. Now, if you look at the ellipsis on clean browsing, up at the top right, there's like 3 dots above the clean browsing word. If you touch that, it says set passcode, right? So you have another problem too. Yeah.
Okay, I can't go in
I'm
there.
nervous.
Yeah.
The hacker already got to my phone.
We got 1 minute. So I'm at booth 414. If you want to come over, I'm going to have to end on time.
Okay,
because I
three
think the
dots
next
and
meeting-
set a password.
Yeah, so you would set a passcode on clean browsing, and then if you're using iOS, you go into screen time and disable deleting apps. They can no longer get to harmful content, and that's a free app right there. There's no cost. Now, that is a take it or leave it level of protection, right?
Which app was that?
Clean browsing, all one word. That's a free level of protection, and you get the way they design it and use it, so you're limited in like, hey, if it's blocking this, but for your kids, it's going to block the majority of not just harmful pornographic, but harmful hacker content. You shouldn't be able to get the park domains by default. That is a bad thing, but yet the internet's okay with it. Like, that's horrible. If you want to get the park domains because you're like me and you need to, that should be the default. Now I need to say, give me access to it, not the other way around. You should not use me.
Okay, so if I go to do this on my phone, I steal my girls' phones when they're not watching it with this on, then they can't get any of the bad content
So
without my passcode?
remember, they can't remove that app without, and it will block the majority of the harmful
And
content.
they won't be able to.
They won't be able to uninstall it, especially if you're using Apple and you disable deleting apps. They can't remove it. And if you're using Google's Family Link, you can stop them from deleting apps as well.
Does it work on DuckDuckGo? Like,
So DuckDuckGo is privacy, and it enforces safe search on DuckDuckGo. It enforces safe search on Google. It enforces restricted mode on YouTube. So if they go and they search, girls on any of those, it should limit, not eliminate, but limit any of the harmless. There's still trolls out there, right? There's no silver bullet.
The clean browsing
Helps limit, exceedingly helps, and it forces safe search on it.
Safari.
And it blocks browsers that don't enforce safe search. So Yandex and Yippee and all Baidu and all the other ones. Anybody heard of Swiss Cows? If you haven't heard of Swiss Cows, make that your default browser. It is a by default clean browser, Swiss Cows or Spin. Spin or Swiss Cows as your search engine. They have no harmful content in them by default.
Better than DuckDuckGo?
Way better. DuckDuckGo's privacy, not protection. Swiss Cows has a bit of both because you can't find it.
So Swiss cows.
Swiss Cows, all one word.
Or spend?
Go ahead. Well, maybe we can talk at my booth if you come over to 414. I can help. I imagine there'll be a line with it.
SPI.
Spin browser, all one word. Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
you have to
This is applicable, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You and think.
This is applicable sort of to everybody in the room. I think you've done a fabulous job of telling us about the technical side of things, and we all agree that there's no silver bullets, so we've got to have conversations with our kids.
Yeah.
So if this is still something on your heart, and how do I talk to my kids, I totally recommend following up with John Ford, doing a couple of presentations, because he will tell you, I have no idea what to do about the technical side, but here's how you have the conversation.
Excellent.
And y'all need to talk to
He
each
should
other.
be broken, guys.
Yes.
So y'all need to work together.
Yeah. To introduce somebody, I don't know, but maybe say go over to booth
He
414.
said be broken.
Where what
Just make this my browser.
make that your browser. Yeah. Try to search for something bad. I mean, don't show anybody, but. Sir! All right, it is 3 minutes after 11. I don't know if the next speaker's booth 414. Yeah. Thank you.